My two girls, Audra and Cece, we sent them off on that Monday. We were so excited. It's such a big deal, as anyone who sent their kids to summer camp knows. Worries about flooding, that was not anywhere in our mind. My husband and I just immediately became glued to the internet. The news got worse and worse. And when you know you're 5.5 hours away from your kiddos, it was a very long, very quiet car ride up there, not really knowing what was going to be at the other side. You just don't know where they are, how they're feeling. Feeling that pain and that fear that they had to have was just utterly gutting.
Having a hard time here. Sorry. All right, guys. So I have with me today Aimee Key. This is a special episode. You have all heard and have seen the news about the unfortunate events and the floodings of Camp Mystic. I have with me a mother of two beautiful girls that was there that survived. And this is going to be a happy story. This is going to be something that this amazing woman, Aimee Key, gets to tell the audience of when she got to be reunited with her two daughters. And so without further ado, Aimee, welcome.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here for a story in the midst of tragedy about good endings as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to get to share.
Yeah, it's super happy to have you, grateful for the opportunity to speak to you. And, I think, and I know as a parent of three children, my worst fear is sometimes dropping my children off at school or something happening to my children. And you and so many other parents, dropped your kids off at summer camp this year, and crazy events happened with the flooding in Texas. And thankfully your children were okay and they're home with you. Why don't you walk the audience through that story and that journey of everything kind of leading up to it and all the emotion surrounding it?
Sure. Well, I dropped my two girls off last Monday, and they had a month term at Camp Mystic. My two girls, Audra and Cece, Audra's 9, and it was her second year. It was Cece's first year as a camper. We were so excited. It's such a big deal, as anyone who sent their kids to summer camp knows. You pack for a month, you put all the special things in the trunk. It's so exciting, and it's such a rite of passage. And we sent them off on that Monday. I knew it had been raining on and off all week, but worries about flooding, that was not anywhere in our mind until I started getting text messages from other mamas in my Mystic Moms chat group. We're super active during camp and year round. And they all started asking around 7:30 in the morning, had we heard about the flooding and what was going on? And instead of focusing on, our community parade and all the fun 4th of July things, my husband and I just immediately became glued to the internet and the news, trying to see what was going on and getting information, limited as it was, from Camp Mystic, what they could tell us had happened. And I'll just say, as the minutes wore on, the news got worse and worse.
I'm going to ask this question because as a parent, I've gone through many emails from school districts saying there's a lockdown. Oh, it was a false alarm. That moment that you get that is like this kick in the gut. I mean, a kick might be an understatement, right? As you're sitting there, you don't know. So as you guys become glued to the internet, and I'm sure social media started picking it up, and you guys are seeing all this, how are you and your husband navigating these emotions and potentially your worst fears?
A big part of it, we decided not to panic immediately, which was our usual first emotion when you know you're
Yeah.
5.5 hours away from your kiddos. And decided once we saw that waters had gone up 30 feet, communication was down, water was out there was no power, that we would grab our oldest twin brother, who's 9 also, and get in the car and start making our way up there just so we could be closer to the girls as kind of the story unfolded. And
Mm.
it was a very long, very quiet car ride up there, just continually refreshing the news, checking text messages, starting to get pictures of the destruction, and not really knowing what was going to be at the other side. I will say that Camp Mystic, even though they had no power, no cell communication or anything, they got out as soon as they could an email to all the parents saying, your girls, if you have not heard from us, your girls are safe. If you are getting this email, we know your girls are safe. And that was our lifeboat for those few hours, knowing we got that. And then realizing other families and families that we knew hadn't gotten that same message, and their same age baby girls were missing.
How far into the drive to Camp Mystic did that email come?
The first email came about 9 a.m. And it was really when the second email at 11 that came in and said, we don't know yet what we're going to do. Just don't come up here. You go to Ingram, to the reunification site, kind of the emergency site where the Red Cross is. It was every fear that we could have, because we were suddenly in the middle of what we've seen so many times on TV, but so far removed from our lives and our home. That was a kick in the gut.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of all this, right? And just I know you and your husband made the commitment to be like, hey, we're not going to freak out. It's easy to say that, right? But I can only imagine every time your phone buzzed, every time some type of communication came through, that I don't know if there's a hesitation, but almost like a fear to look at your phone and see what it is.
There is. I mean, honestly, your heart stops for a minute each and every time. And just again, as those miles passed down the road and people started hearing more and hearing, this washed away cabins, this washed away the highway, this washed away homes and RV parks, the magnitude of it really hit. And even though we knew our girls were safe, what does that mean? You just don't know where they are, how they're feeling. And even more than that, again, what about those that aren't safe? Because those little girls are from our community. We live in Highland Park. Those two of those little girls, the picture that you see of the little girls with their arms around each other, were classmates of my daughter. They all go to the same cheer gym and the same schools. And knowing that they were in a cabin that my littlest could have been in, had anything been slightly different, just brought both of us just basically to our knees.
And these two girls you're talking about, those are the ones that the reports came out that they were holding each other. Is that?
They're the two little girls, Lila and Eloise, and, first year campers, precious little girls going into third grade, friends from school, first year at camp. Their mamas had been Camp Mystic mamas, and just feeling that pain and that fear that they had to have was just, it was just gutting. That was the only word I could think, was that this is just utterly gutting for everyone.
Having a hard time here. Sorry.
It's a lot. The trauma, the post, like after the fight or flight response is done, there's a lot of trauma that I don't think people understand or expect. And just as any parent can feel, because these are baby girls. They're just 8 and 9 years old.
I have three kids. I have an 11-year-old son, an 8-year-old daughter that's almost 9, and a 6, almost 7-year-old. And I can't help but, and this is something that my wife will tell you, and she'll tell everybody when she was sending me these things. I go, I'm not clicking on that. I'm not looking at it right now, not out of disrespect, but out of the fact that if something hits too close for me as a father or even as a husband, I cannot look at it. I can't look at it. I haven't read one article. And of course, I know about the 2 little daughters that were killed by their dad. I know that, right? It's in the news everywhere, but I won't click on it. And I surely did my best to kind of evade the deeper dive into Can't Miss It, because not to be ignorant of it. I know what happened, but like I said, just to you and to the audience, it's just too close. And, and life and God have a funny way of putting things in our path. And, here I am with you right now having this conversation. So, it came in my path anyway, and I get to tell the happy story of the reunification of you and your family and your children. But also, to your point, is there's a lot of trauma involved that hasn't hit yet, maybe even for your girls, but also the fact that you have friends that lost their children, and your daughters have friends that were lost. And yes, it's great your children are with you. It's also important to acknowledge and be there for the community members that lost their children.
It's so true. It's such a mixed bag of feelings, because I am so grateful for the tiny twist of fate that, again, my daughter happened to be in a different cabin, and she acknowledged to me at 8 years old on the way home, if I had been in Bubble Inn with my friends, I would have drowned. And what would you have done? And I couldn't answer that. And that was so hard, not for her, but realizing I couldn't answer that because it was so close to home, and 27 families were having to figure out what to do. And it made it real, and it makes you feel so glad, but so selfish for being glad, so confused.
Yeah.
And especially at a Christian camp that's just focuses on love and kindness and acceptance. And it is truly the most magical place. I cannot even explain how magical it is, but how does that happen somewhere so precious for these babies?
I can't sidestep that. And I can't act like I haven't thought that myself. I sit there when this was happening. I'm like, wait a second. I'm sitting there with my wife. I'm like, babe, these children were at a Christian camp. How, like, I can't even put into words the things that I was thinking. I'm like, but the overall theme was how, why, like, really, like, innocent children. And this is the twist of fate. Like this, it really brings to light the fact that we don't have any control. Like we don't have control, and that's a complete freak accident. We have more odds of something happening every time we get in our vehicles and hit that push to start and driving down the road, especially in Texas. The road system scares the hell out of me. But, but I mean, think about that. I mean, it just, there's so much emotion surrounding this. And the other thing that I think, and this is something that you may be able to speak to because you've kind of already alluded to it, is your daughters understanding their own mortality that young.
Yeah. That was profound to me, hearing them ask those questions and also make that same kind of connection that I had, that if one thing had been different, you apply to go to Mystic basically when your girls are born. It's this weird summer camp, amazing, hard to explain rite of passage, huge in Texas, right? It's an honor to go. I have been excited for years for my girls to go. Like, it's joyful to me. And all the bad things that I think about with the world, someone coming into camp and hurting these girls, people abusing girls. Those are the things I worried about when I dropped them off and they'd be homesick. This wasn't, and it truly, like you said, it brings the fragility of our lives, and thinking that every single one of those parents went to bed on July 3rd. They didn't think about that, not even for a second. This wasn't on our radar, our bingo cards. That wasn't. And we have so little control over those things, even in an environment that should be perfect and sacred and sweet, sweet, innocent kiddos. It made life a lot more real than I'm used to seeing. And I'm a divorce lawyer, so I see a lot of unhappiness every day. This was entirely different than the stuff I deal with and see.
No, that's the thing. It's like, when you look at all that, the things that you don't even think are going to ever be an issue because it's not on your radar. Sometimes that is what you're dealt with, right? Like, and you're talking about, people coming in and hurting kids, whether it's a camp advisor or I mean, gosh, like even someone just bum rushing the camp and, with guns, like those are things that you can kind of be like, okay, I can honestly see that happening given the world that we live in. But a flash flood taking out these cabins, taking out roads and ending lives, like unbelievable.
This is a camp that has been in that same spot for 100 years next year. I mean, it wasn't built yesterday. Generations of girls have been going. And I think of all the bad things, like every parent does, all of the what ifs, that never crossed my mind at all. And you can't prepare. And I just think about these parents again who went to bed the night before excited to see 4th of July pictures of their girls. And they didn't. And it guts you. And the why just doesn't make sense yet.
I don't think it ever will. Like to your point, the why, I don't think we'll ever be able to make sense of this ever, until that day where we go up to those pearly gates and then, he's like, hey, this is why I needed them. Right. This is why. This is what happened. And I firmly believe that, in another life, parents and they're going to get the explanation that, obviously it's not going to help now. And people might think I'm a whack job for even saying that. But if you're a person of faith, then you have to understand that we're not going to always know. It doesn't make it easier. Oh my gosh, no, it doesn't make it easy for a parent to sit there and say, one day, Christ will let me know. Like this is why this happened. But in this life, you're left without your child. And for me, that is my biggest fear. I have two fears in life, Aimee. One is losing one of my children. Okay. The second one, of course, I'm afraid of losing my wife early, right? But the other one is leaving this world too soon and it impacting my children to a point where it ruins their life. Those things scare me.
Those are the big ones because I mean everyone says it makes sense we go before our kids. And even more so little kids. I mean 8-year-old babies away from home. I think the anger, it's okay to have the anger right now. It's okay to have the lament. Um, but I see in my own kids talking to them, asking them, how do you feel about going back? And without hesitation saying, I can't wait to go back. I love Camp Mystic. And the director, Dick Eastland, died also in the floods, who'd been running this place for 51 years and is beloved by these girls. And that ripped my girls up as much as their classmates because that man loved the camp and died trying to save these girls. And and to have all of these little girls being, I guess, stronger than we are as parents. And again, kind of what I talk to my girls about, and talking to myself in my own head, we have to live with faith and not fear. I've got to let you go back next summer or whenever we can and trust that God hopefully is going to let you come home, but it's all part of a plan. And I've got to trust that, or else we just live locked in our little bubble wrap. And I love seeing that my kids don't want to do that. It's a helpful guide for me as a parent, and I think for other parents in the same place, realizing we've got to be strong for them.
You made a very interesting point. Okay. And I'm not surprised by your daughters wanting to go back. What I admire most is your faith over fear that you and your husband are the approach that you're taking, right? Because it's one thing to say it, but I think that, and I know this is something that my wife and I operate in, and I'm learning a lot from you is you got to have faith that they're coming home, and they need to be able to go out and be kids and enjoy these experiences and not allow this tragedy to impact the rest of how they live their life. That's also a very difficult thing, right? I mean, because there's logic and then there's the irrational part of you is like, you're never leaving the house again. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just kind of the way it is. How are you and your husband navigating through that aspect? It seems well, but talk to the audience about.
I mean, I'll be honest, this has been harder, I think, initially for us than for our girls. Just because we have seen all of the news, seen all of the pictures. And it's been gutting. I mean, truly gutting, where you feel numb inside and all of the anger and the sadness and the guilt, feeling relief that our kids came home when others didn't. But I think with our girls, what we've tried to do is twofold. One, focus on the good of what they got to experience, talking about camp, talking about their friends, looking at pictures that we have of them. There's a video of girls singing on the bus as they were leaving and talking to them about their experience and how the helpers were there, the counselors, the National Guard, Texas Park and Wildlife got my girls out on vehicles designed to drive through water crossings and fallen brush, and talking to them about how these adults who did not know these babies were playing games with them and singing and making them feel safe, and how those people are heroes. Just trying to do that and talking about what can we do as a family, as a community, as a people to help give back as we can. Our neighborhood is tying green and pink ribbons around trees, and it matters. I mean, you drive down the street, you drive by our local school. It is powerful. It's a tiny, tiny gesture, but it's what people can do. And people are checking in with each other, loving on each other. Just if maybe a little bit of kindness can come from that, maybe that's some good. And right now that's kind of all that we can cling to, not to become too bitter or too angry or too fearful, because I don't want that for us, if that makes sense.
No, it truly does, right? And I love the perspective of, the first responders, the National Guard, the camp counselors that were all gathered helping these girls get through this, right? That's heroism at its finest as well. I mean, really think about it. When you're on that bus, right, and these adults that are with these children after this tragedy, as an adult, I would imagine that's more difficult than inserting yourself in the water and trying to save a child, because that's instinctual.
Yeah.
I don't know very many adults that will be like, yeah, good, I'm not getting in that water, I'm saving my own life. No. There's a child, you're jumping in that water, whether it's yours or not, and you're trying to save that child. But to be safe and to know what happened and still operate in that energy, wow. Because that could have been a whole environment of just pain, suffering, crying,
anger,
bitterness, blaming God, like a lot of different stuff. And just like, this is just, it's all mind blowing to me. I do have an interesting question. That text group, the moms text group for Camp Mystic, I'm assuming there's some moms on there that aren't as blessed as you are right
now. Our cabin was thankfully all okay, but each of us are very closely connected to families who weren't. And a lot of it is very, very close to home, or they had kiddos who were at the local boys camp down the road who had to swim out. I mean, 6-year-old kiddos having to climb to the rafters, climb to a roof. Just, again, things that no parent should have to know their kiddo went through. And each and every one of us in that group, it's in my older daughter's cabin, there are 13 girls. Every single one of us is connected to someone who did not come home. And we've supported each other from, moment one nonstop through today. And now it's focused on how can we help? And how can we help our girls? How can we help our community? And also, how can we support each other? It's been a lifeline, honestly.
When you mentioned there's 6-year-olds that had to swim to safety, there's girls climbing to the rafters, getting on the roof to save their own life. And it's certain things that no child ever should really honestly have to deal with. I don't care how old, but 6 and 8 years old. And it's it's interesting to me because two things can be true, right? A certain group could be at home like you and your husband were, enjoying your day with your son, and then two of your other heartbeats living outside of your body are fighting for their lives, and you don't know it. And you're not there. You're not there to help. You're unbeknownst to you, they're fighting for their life. And it's just like, to me, like that right there is the part. That's the part, Aimee, because I don't even know where I'm going with it. It's just that to me is just like, on one hand, there's one thing going on, and 5.5 hours away, this is going on. And gratefully they made it. But like, oh my gosh.
That's the part that makes me think, for those families who weren't as lucky. And again, to my daughter's question, what would you do if I had drowned? How can you be okay? Because I just think at that moment when your babies need you the most, and our instinct as a parent is to lay down our life for our kids, and these parents didn't have that chance. I That part for me just hurts my heart so much, because I know that's where I wouldn't be okay. And I know they've got to just be replaying that over and over and over. And that's the part I just want to give up myself, to be like, you didn't do anything wrong. But how do you feel like you didn't? I mean, not a single one did, but the guilt and the regret, just that would destroy me.
I don't think there's a world, Aimee, where the parents that lost their babies in that tragedy will ever not blame themselves. And it wasn't their fault. At the same time, I would do the same thing. Like 100%. If and it wasn't even a careless act. It's a camp. It's been going on for 100 years. You know, that to me is what's, I want to say, amazing, and not like a fun way, but what's amazing about the situation is there was no wrongdoings, not from the camp, not from the parents, not from the children. There's literally nothing that anybody could have done to change the outcome, good or bad, right? And now these parents for the rest of their lives have to live with the fact that they sent their kids to camp.
That term, that happened, that moment, it's the coulda, woulda, shoulda, what ifs. And again, like you said, there's nothing these parents did wrong. And I just pray to God that they can eventually believe that. This is a camp that, again, most of these little girls, their mamas went to, their grandmas went to. You're a Kiowa or a Talk for Life. These moms just found out, and dads too. I can only look at it from my perspective, but they found their tribe. They've been waiting for pictures every day. It's supposed to be just this experience that you've been preparing your kiddo for years. And how is anyone okay after that? And how do you make sense of it when it's your family, your child, or children, plural?
I can only look at it from my perspective too. I love my son. He's my boy. But as a man, my daughters, to even think that there's ever a reality that my daughters could go through something like that and me not be there to save them, I would need every prayer. I would need everybody in my life to pull me through. I would need to be on serious watch, because there's no way that I could live with that. without support.
No.
I mean, obviously I'm emotional. I mean, it's a father of two girls, and a father's love for his son is immense. And it's not any less than the daughter's. It's not, but it's different. And your husband can speak on that.
Oh, it seemed to, I have, typical stoic Texas husband, right? Who believes that his duty in life is to protect his family and would, without question, to your point, run into any raging body of water, burning building, save our kids, someone else's kids, without thinking twice, because he believes that's what he was put on earth for, is to protect his family. Um, and to not be able to, seeing these dads break down and still, see them crying, see the tears fill in their eyes when they're, holding their kids now. It's so powerful, and it's different than how moms process and moms grieve too. But that also made all of this so much more real, seeing that in action, because I think it just brings home the helplessness and the despair that everyone feels, because there isn't a way to fix it. That's y'all's duty in life, is to fix things, right? And you can't. There's nothing anymore to fix.
No. How is your husband doing?
I think he is same as me. I mean, slowly processing, slowly coming kind of out of what I would just describe as a numbness or a fog. Um, and now wanting to do what we can to help. Like, how can we be the helpers? How can we support the helpers? How can we love on these families in our community? How can we help honor their kids? How can we help rebuild Kerrville? Um, that's how we process, and out loud and in my head and in his too. I mean, we've just kept saying it, maybe to reassure ourselves, God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. And just honestly, on repeat for the last week, that's that's been kind of driving every action and everything, just saying it to believe it, and knowing somewhere I do believe that, just holding on to it, because it's not easy.
No. It's here's what's crazy, Aimee. So my friend Matthew Hedden has been telling me to watch I Still Believe for I don't know how long. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Jeremy Camp story about his wife. Have you seen that movie?
I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah. So last night, I say to my wife, I go, "Hey, you want to watch XYZ movie?" And she goes, "No, let's watch I Still Believe, because Matthew said that we need to watch this together." And for those of the people that don't know the story, Matthew Camp met his first wife in college, his freshman year, and fell in love with her on the spot. They had this relationship, and they dated a little bit, and this is the story in the movie, how it was depicted, and broke up for a brief time, and then he had to rush back because she had cancer, and she ended up getting the all clear, and they got married 6 months, and 6 months later they got married, and then on their honeymoon it came back, and she eventually lost her life to this cancer battle. My point to all this is, me and my wife were looking at each other last night. I'm like, why in the world does he have us watch this? Why am I watching this? Like, I get it, we're not in control, but like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm watching this right now. And then we're having this conversation, and you're saying God is good all the time. I still believe. I'm like, okay, I get the message now. It was in preparation for this moment. And everything I think that we need to understand is it's all connected. We don't need to know the why. Our job is just to kind of let go of the wheel and let him drive and us stay faithful in the process.
And you can be angry. I think that's the okay thing also. Um, we went to a really wonderful service when we got back for one of the little girls who had lost her life. And that was the message. It is okay to be angry. God wants you to be angry. God understands that you're questioning and, all of these things in such a broken world. That's okay. And that for me was very powerful. Like we need to look for the good. We need to find the good. It's not forgetting the bad, and it's also being real. But to me, that's if there's got to be something from this, it doesn't change it. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make me less angry or heartsick or anything else as a parent. But I can't let that overcome me and my faith and my willingness to go forward and do good things and believe in something magical for my kids, or put them in a bubble, probably with duct tape over their mouth so they don't fight. They do that all the time. But I I have to
The
want
girls, right? The girls fight like crazy, don't they? Yep.
dogs and cats. That's how I knew they were okay again, that they were fussing and fighting and hitting. I'm like,
already.
I'm like, y'all are back to normal. Good
Y'all
thing.
are crazy.
They're a lot. Man. But just seeing that and kind of trying to put those pieces together has been helpful.
Yeah, let me ask you, just one quick question. Like, have they shared their experience through it all yet with you?
Bits and pieces. And I'm letting them drive that bus.
Oh,
I'm like,
absolutely.
And we'll watch maybe a video showing the floodwaters and talk, and they'll then ask me about the cabins or tell me about how they had to pack all of their things up and were told they were going to share with the little girls whose cabins everything had washed away, and not having power that day, not having running water, not knowing when they were going to leave, having to get in trucks and driving through, flood-filled streams. And they talked about it, but honestly, each time they do, and they'll cry sometimes, or you can tell they're scared or have questions or ask who didn't come back. You mean they really are gone? They're dead. There's something positive that they remember or funny, something that still makes them smile or laugh in the midst of that. And I'm so grateful for that. And again, think we as adults can learn so much from that.
It's incredible. It really is. And, I think it's appropriate to send love to the parents and the families that lost their children, to the grandparents that lost their grandkids, to your daughters who lost their friends. It's important to, like you said, come together as a community. So, I want to ask you right now, is there things that the audience can be doing once they listen to this? Is there something that I can be doing? Because this is, this is a perfect moment, right? And what I mean by that is the aftermath, Aimee. And we live in a world right now where everything is divided. Everybody hates each other. Everybody's going at somebody. It's somebody else's fault. It's the left. It's the right. It's everything. Like, listen, everybody, this is your moment right now. If you're listening to this show, this is your moment to create positive change in the world, in the universe. All you have to do is listen, share the show with somebody, and allow them to share it with somebody else as well, because this is our moment to take control of a really dark place, which is the world right now. What can we all do to help?
Well, to that point, this is something that's so important. We live in a broken world. None of these girls were broken. They were perfect. They were everything that I think we should all aspire to be. And for a minute, it's where I think we've all got to put aside for now, or it's the fault of the left, or it's the fault of the right, it's the fault of, whomever. Put it aside and honestly try to find ways to be kinder to each other as people. They say look for the helpers, be one. Just be kind. I see so much finger pointing and blame starting already, and I'm like, it's not the time, friends. Let's not be armchair quarterbacks. Let's figure out how to make things safer and better, because we can't turn back what happened, but we can all do better going forward. Find ways to support that community, because obviously 27, little girls, that strikes at the heart of every American, but hundreds of people died, hundreds of people, some without a ton of resources, no flood insurance. They lost their homes, they lost their cars, their pets, their family. I just think it's where we've got to open our hearts, open our wallets to help, and really try to be more like these kids, try to be kinder. We're so broken, and these kids weren't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said, my new friend. Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much for coming on and telling the story and your experience and the experience with your two little girls, and so grateful that they're back with you guys, and you're able to tuck them in at night.
We are too. We're glad to have another day. Our days are so not promised. And to be able to have even a little more time, just make it count. Live the life that you want to live, because that's all we can do. And hopefully this helps my family and other families try to keep that in perspective. That's all I can hope for.
It's almost like now you love to hear them fighting, right?
No. I'm going to tell you still no.
Go that far.
No, we're not going to go that far. But I want to raise good people. I want to raise a better generation and a group of helpers. And I want to see all of us emulate that too, because there's still so much good in the world. And we've seen that with people who are helping, who are creating things, selling things, donating things, volunteering. It's like, just if all of us can keep a tiny bit of that spirit of togetherness going forward, we can be better. Not perfect, but better. And that's the lesson I'm choosing right now to take going forward.
Absolutely. And I love it. And I'm with you. And I can guarantee my wife and I will find a way to help. Definitely our hearts are open. We'll open our wallets too. And for you listeners out there, please do the same. Open your hearts, open your wallets. If there's anything you can give, I'm sure everybody will appreciate whatever you can. If you can't, give resources, give time, right? It's not just about money. It's about the effort. It's about the heart. So again, Aimee, thank you so much for coming on. I just really appreciated meeting you, and glad we're now in contact. And, I've got you programmed in the mobile device. And, it's just going to be great to see updates with your kids and everything like that. So again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a very difficult moment in your life with my audience. And I know I could speak for them and just say, we're so grateful that you guys are okay, but also we're sending love to everybody who's not.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. My family appreciates it too. Just getting to share our story and hopefully help make things a little bit better.
Absolutely. If you need anything from me, you have my cell number. This doesn't have to be it. So if you need anything, I'm here. All right. So
thank you. And if y'all need any help connecting to resources, let me know. I'm here for that too.
Absolutely. I definitely will. And again, to the audience, thank you for listening. Again, share the message, be someone who helps. And you know what? More than anything, love your family, love the people that are in your life and show them every day, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And until next time, stay determined.